Hi friends, I'm Chelsea and I am here with my March TBR. So if you remember my February TBR video, you'll know that I got a little ambitious and put way too many books on my TBR. Spoiler alert, I did not finish all of those books, although I read a good amount, which I will tell you about in my February wrap-up. But all that to say, I am trying to be a little more realistic about my TBR for the month of March, trying not to overload myself because I started to feel the pressure and didn't want my enjoyment of the books I was reading to be affected just because I felt like I had to read so many books. So I'm trying to keep my TBR for March a little more manageable and realistic. And so I'm just going to let you know some of the books that are on my radar for this month. I already have several buddy reads and a book club, actually a couple book club books, as well as some books for the buzzwordathon, maybe a couple others that I can't remember. I might draw one from my series jar, but I don't think I'm going to do the TBR jar for this month because I already have like 8 books on my radar. So I'm just going to go through and let you know what books I want to read in March. So first of all, I am finishing up today probably A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This is the second book in the Ember and the Ashes series. I literally have like 20 pages left, so I will be finishing that. I had this on my February TBR, but I started it a little late, but I'm definitely finishing this soon, so that is a good way to start off the month. And then for my in-person book club pick, this was my pick, and I had a couple options, but this is the book that appealed to the majority, and so we chose this book. And this is A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Rum. I'm really excited to read this one. It is historical / literary fiction, I think. It has 2 different timelines and 2 different settings. One of them is in Palestine in the 1990s, and then another one is in Brooklyn in 2008. And it follows 2 different women in the same family, I believe, and the different pressures that are put on them, specifically with who they're supposed to marry and how their lives are supposed to be. We have a cat visitor here, always. This wouldn't be my channel without a cat interruption. Anyway, so I think part of this is just showing the expectations that are placed on women throughout history. That's all I know, really. I know that this author is Palestinian American, and it says she lives in North Carolina, which is cool because that's where I live. I'm definitely excited to read this book. I think it is also Women's History Month in March, so that works out pretty well. This feels like a good book for that. And also with the Ellen Made Book Club Diversity Challenge, I am happy to add a new country and a new nationality of author to add to my list of books to read. Very excited to read this for my book club. Excuse me. I'm getting cat hair in my mouth, which is not the most pleasant experience. Okay, this next book must be read this month because it has been on my TBR since I got it for Christmas. So every month of this year so far, it's been on my TBR, and I wanted to get to it last month, especially because it was going to be a buddy read with Daniela and Hannah, and I just had way too many books on my TBR, so I kind of failed at that. Sorry, girls, if you're watching this. I still want to read this book and chat about it in Fable if y'all haven't read it yet. So this is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. I'm probably going to start this today or tomorrow after I finish A Torch Against the Night. So I'm finally going to get to this and see what it's all about. I've talked about it a lot. Not going to talk about it more, but you will see me talking about this in my March reading wrap-up. I swear to you. Okay, another buddy read that I'm excited about, and this is a book that I wanted to read in 2024 and didn't get to. Here's a theme, I guess, of all the books that I'm not getting to and finally getting to them. And this is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I will be buddy reading this with Melanie from A Dark Corner at the Library. This is another kind of literary / historical fiction, very focused on friendship, and this is set in Italy. It's an Italian author, I think, because her identity is mostly unknown. It starts in the 1950s, and yeah, it just follows 2 girls and their lives growing up, their friendship, their family lives, and it's the first in a 4-book series. I have the second book, and then if I like the first 2, then I will keep reading the series, and I assume just kind of grow up with these girls and get to follow their life journey. So very intrigued by this one because I know it's won a couple of awards and it's been talked about a lot. So I definitely am curious to see what the hype is about. And another buddy read that, again, I'm also very excited about is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'll be reading this with Mimi from It's Mimi Duong. We've been talking about this one for a while, and we finally decided to read it in March. And so this is another start of a series. We have a theme here as well, which isn't great, but they're very fast-paced from what I've heard, and it's young adult murder mystery. I think it's 4 books, but I think they fly by. It looks like the text is super big, and they're all pretty short and bingeable from what I hear. So if we both want to read the series, I feel like it won't take that long, so I'm excited to check this out. And I've talked about this one as well, but I have heard this compared to Criminal Minds, and I think it's just about a group of teenagers who have these special talents or abilities, and they all group up together. They are approached by the FBI to crack this case, and I guess one of the main characters, is sent to live with a group of teens with all different sorts of gifts, so it's like a program kind of. They all come together to solve these crimes and mysteries, from what I can tell. I expect this to be a pretty quick and fast-paced, addicting read, hopefully, and excited to read it with Mimi. Another one that has been on my list for a while, and I really hoped to get to it in February because Shuba, her Fable book club, they were reading it, and so I wanted to jump in on that, but again, I had way too many other books that I was already committed to reading, but I have it from the library, and I must read it this month. So this is Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. I've heard so many good reviews about this book. I feel like I have not heard a single negative thing, and so part of me is a little worried because, as you know, with high expectations and glowing reviews, there's always the potential for being let down, but I feel like I'm really gonna like this one. It is a standalone dark fantasy, which I love. So I believe that the main character, she is the first woman ever admitted to this school of like magic. It says the University of Magics and Industry. She passes the exam, she becomes a high mage, but she is not super welcome there because she's the only woman, and they give her an assistant who is a janitor, and so I think it's kind of like a slight, but she finds out that the janitor, there's more to him than it seems, so they come together uncovering a secret. I don't want to know much more than that. Very intrigued by this one and hope that I will love it as much as everyone else seems to. And then speaking of Shuba, her Fable book club, it's called We Read Books. I am planning to read the book for March. Also excited about this one, have heard wonderful things, and I don't think I've really read a book in this genre. So the book is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I think this is classified as like historical horror, maybe with some mystery, some paranormal stuff. I don't read a lot of horror, but I have heard wonderful things about this and I'm very intrigued. I think I'll be listening to the audiobook, and I also think I have the library book waiting for me to pick up. So I'll just read the first little bit here. This says, a gripping page-turning novel set in Jim Crow, Florida that follows Robert Stevens Jr. as he's sent to a segregated reform school that is a chamber of terrors where he sees the horrors of racism and injustice for the living and the dead. Gracetown, Florida, June 1950. This 12-year-old is sentenced to 6 months at the Gracetown School for Boys, a reformatory, for kicking the son of the largest landowner in town in defense of his older sister Gloria. He has a talent for seeing ghosts, but what was once a comfort to him after the loss of his mother has become a window to the truth of what happens at the reformatory. Boys forced to work to remediate their so-called crimes have gone missing, but the haints or ghosts that Robbie sees hint at worse things. And I'm gonna leave it there, but I believe this is based off of real-life reformatory schools, which I must admit I don't really know a whole lot about, and so I'm sure this is going to be quite disturbing because it is based on real history. Also, hopefully a little bit spooky and thrilling and just well written. So I am definitely intrigued to read this, and it will be fun to read along with people in Shuba's book club. And then I had mentioned the buzzwordathon. So there are two different versions of this challenge. I guess we have a title challenge and then a cover challenge. And I know some people are just kind of picking different ones throughout the year and not doing the specific prompts for each month, but I am a purist. I like to really follow the rules, and so I'm taking all of the prompts that are specifically set for the certain months and doing them. So for March, the cover prompt is books on the cover, and then the title challenge prompt is the word thing in the title. So I picked two books that fit into that. The one for the title challenge with the word thing in the title is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I read The Unmaking of June Pharaoh and Spells for Forgetting by this author. Really enjoyed both. I love her beautifully atmospheric writing and her magical realism stories, and with a little hint of mystery, a little bit of romance. I think she just combines a lot of really interesting elements. So I'm excited to read this new release by her. I have heard some mixed reviews, so I'm a little skeptical or hesitant, but I do want to read this for sure, and I have the audiobook all ready to go on my Libby app. So I believe this one follows a girl who has lost her twin brother, and she is investigating his mysterious death while also coming to terms with her own haunting past. I think it's kind of a small town feel, which a lot of Adrienne Young's books also have that kind of rural, small town setting. So James, the main character, she's forced to go back into her past, get answers about her brother. There's a strange connection. I think that's where the fantasy or magical realism element comes in. Her brother was keeping secrets and he's not the only one. Again, it sounds like a mystery with some magical realism. I don't know if this one has romance at all. I think it probably will, but we will find out. Very curious to check this one out. And for books on the cover, I had several options, but I also realized that it is middle grade March. And so I ended up picking a book that is middle grade and also has books on the cover just to knock out 2 in 1. And this is one I have on my shelf as well. And it's pretty short, so win-win all around. And this is Matilda by Roald Dahl. So I love the movie. It's great. I know it's like a classic, but I have never read the book. And so I thought it would be fun to pick this one up. It's going to be a super easy read. There are illustrations in it and it's like 200, just over 200 pages. I think it'll just be a fun, wholesome, heartwarming story. If you aren't familiar with the story of Matilda, I'm just going to read a little bit of this synopsis. I don't know what this says inside the book, so let's see. Matilda is a sweet, exceptional young girl, but her parents think she's just a nuisance. She expects school to be different, but there she has to face Miss Trunchbull, a kid-hating terror of a headmistress. When Matilda is attacked by the Trunchbull, she suddenly discovers she has a remarkable power with which to fight back. It'll take a superhuman genius to give Miss Trunchbull what she deserves, and Matilda may be just the one to do it. So, quick little synopsis there, but I love Matilda. She's really whimsical and strong-willed and just funny, just a lot of shenanigans, you know. So excited to read this one. And those are all the books that I am planning to read. I think I'm going to pick one from my series jar just to have an option to continue series. I have been starting a lot of series and continuing and finishing some, but I would like to maybe make some progress with one more of those series this month. So I'm going to pick one more, and that will be my TBR for March. And if it's one I'm not feeling right now, I might just draw again because I am a mood reader and I may not be feeling a certain book. Okay. Oh, Legendborn. Okay, that is interesting because the new book, Oathbound, just came out. Actually, I don't know if it's out yet. I think it comes out this month. But I was just thinking that I really want to actually reread the first 2 Legendborn books. I love the first one and I remember nothing about the second one. So I feel like I need to refresh a little bit before I read the new book that comes out. And so I might actually do that because it would be cool to refresh on those first 2 books and then jump into the 3rd book and finish that series. Actually, I don't think it's a trilogy, but you know, I think maybe there's one more book coming out and I might listen to the audiobooks. Shuba had mentioned that she was doing that in her reread and I've heard the audiobooks are good. So yeah, actually that is really great because I was already thinking of doing that. I'm going to see if I can find the audiobook for Legendborn somewhere and catch up on those books so I can read the new release. That worked out pretty well, I must say. So quick little recap here on my March TBR, and that will be it. So kind of short and sweet. So for my in-person book club, we have A Woman Is No Man by Ataf Rum. For my buddy reads, we have My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. For just general fun reading / library book, we have Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. For the Buzzwordathon cover challenge, we have Matilda by Roald Dahl, and for the title challenge we have A Sea of Unspoken Things by, who is it? Adrienne Young. And then for Shuba's Fable Book Club, we have The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. And then for my continuing / refreshing on series, I guess, we have Legendborn, and I'm going to start back with book 1. That is my March TBR. I must say I'm quite excited and hope that I'll feel a little less pressure this month just to be able to get to as many of these books as possible. So let me know your thoughts on these books. If you have read any of them, what your thoughts were. Let me know your March TBR. That is it for now. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.